Well, hi everybody. First of all, let me make sure, as usual, that this is working as it should do. First of all, very important, Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday this week, yep, in the UK on Channel 5 at 9 o'clock in the evening on Channel 5, two-part documentary about the Luke Mitchell, Jody Jones case. And Sharon Sunshine, or Liquid Sunshine Crime, stroke Sharon Sunshine. I've put the link to her channel in the description. Hi, Jaznaz. So please do go and check out her channel. Subscribe, obviously. And she's already done a couple of videos about the documentary that's coming up. So please do go and check that out. The Jody Jones, Luke Mitchell case. Hi, Sean. It's a little bit like the Making a Murderer mixed with the West Memphis 3. There's no false confession, but there is a trial by media. I remember at Dalkeith or Newton Grange, and New Battle in particular. New Battle leads into Newton Grange and across to East Houses and Mayfield. Wow, Millbilly, that's a long way off, isn't it, eh? Now then, that's not the 11th of September. That is November the 9th, isn't it? Because you put the month, then the day, then the year. So that's fine. So November the 9th. Obviously, they've exchanged messages, and I've gone absolutely nowhere with it. Good. Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Millbilly. Oh, March the 9th. Yes. I thought maybe that there had been no movement, and so they decided on that. And I think that one there on the March the 9th is a, he's trying to act as a mediator, isn't he? And then he's going to, you can't record it. All right, they won't give you access to it. That's not so good. Okay. Anyway, as I say, we'll watch out and see what Millbilly is able to do for us on that occasion. Yep, excellent. And as I say, here in the UK, just tomorrow and Thursday, the release of this Jody Jones, Luke Mitchell documentary, which, as I say, is only just up the road from Galashiels. In fact, it was Derek Edmond, who is a keen Stephen Brendan supporter, that first alerted me to the case, because Derek Edmonds actually went to the same school as Luke Mitchell and Jody Jones, although they were like a year or two below. He knew of the people. So anyway, as I say, if you could please check out, Millbilly, you could be really behind bars, not just in front of a green screen. So yeah, you be careful, pal. So yeah, if you can click on, if you haven't done already, click on, it's in the description below, the link to Sharon Liquid Sunshine Crime, Sharon Sunshine channel. Okay, now I've not looked at this for a while. This Strengthening Forensic Science. It was obviously an article that I was alerted to as I was reading Mark Gods's book, The Blind Injustice, and it's I think it's a really important document. It was authored in 2009, or at least released in 2009. A lot of people put a lot of effort into this to try and improve forensics. And what have we found since? People like Dean and Strang setting up their, Center for the Integrity of Forensic Sciences. we're hearing a lot, or I'm certainly hearing a lot, I don't know if you are, about this Dorbert standard, which means that, you know, we're trying to get judges to improve the you know, the forensic testing, all that kind of stuff. I mean, really, you know, it only took Kathleen Zellner you know, 6 items to test, and she, you know, how many did she find that were completely bogus? Okay, let's move on to this then. This is the Strengthening Forensic Science. It's here, ready to go. Yes, and we were up to page 35 and talking about the political realities. Okay, so most forensic science methods, programs, and evidence are within the regulatory province of state and local law enforcement entities, or are covered by statutes and rules governing state judicial proceedings. Thus, in assessing the strengths, weaknesses, and future needs of forensic disciplines, and in making recommendations for improving the use of forensic technologies and techniques, the committee remained mindful of the fact that Congress cannot directly fix all of the deficiencies in the forensic science community. Under the federal system of government, Congress does not have free rein to amend state criminal codes, rules of evidence, and statutes governing civil actions, nor may it easily and directly regulate local law enforcement practices, state and local medical examiner units, or state policies covering the accreditation of crime laboratories and the certification of forensic practitioners. Congress's authority to act is significant, however. Forensic science programs in federal government entities, whether within DOJ, DHS, DOD, or the Department of Commerce, are funded by congressional appropriations. If these programs are required to operate pursuant to the highest standards, they will provide an example for the states. More importantly, Congress can promote best practices and strong educational, certification, accreditation, ethics, and oversight programs in the states by offering funds that are contingent on meeting appropriate standards of practice. There is every reason to believe that offers of federal funds with strings attached can affect significant change in the forensic science community. Because so many state and local programs currently are suffering for want of adequate resources, in the end, however, the committee recognized that state and local authorities must be willing to enforce change if it is to happen. I mean, we certainly do want it to happen, don't we? Maybe when they're paying out hundreds of millions in compensation, they will realize it wasn't the best economic decision to not go with that. In light of the foregoing issues, the committee exercised caution before drawing conclusions and avoided being too prescriptive in its recommendations. It also recognized that, given the complexity of the issues and the political realities that may pose obstacles to change, some recommendations will have to be implemented creatively and over time in order to be effective. Findings and recommendations: the fragmented system, symptoms and cures. The forensic science disciplines currently are an assortment of methods and practices used in both the public and private arenas. Forensic science facilities exhibit wide variability in capacity, oversight, staffing, certification, and accreditation across federal and state jurisdictions. Too often, they have inadequate educational programs, and they typically lack mandatory and enforceable standards founded on rigorous research and testing, certification requirements, and accreditation programs. Additionally, forensic science and forensic pathology research education and training lack strong ties to our research universities and national science assets. In addition to the problems emanating from the fragmentation of the forensic science community, the most recently published Census of Crime Laboratories conducted by BJS describes unacceptable case backlogs in state and local crime laboratories and estimates the level of additional resources needed to handle these backlogs and prevent their recurrence. Unfortunately, the backlogs, even in DNA case processing, have grown dramatically in recent years and are now staggering in some jurisdictions. The most recently published BJS Special Report of Medical Examinations and Coroner's Offices also depicts a system with disparate and often inadequate educational and training requirements, resources, and capacities. In short, a system in need of significant improvement. Existing data suggest that forensic laboratories are under-resourced and understaffed, which contributes to case backlogs and likely makes it difficult for laboratories to do as much as they could do. 1, to inform investigations, 2, provide strong evidence for prosecutions, and 3, avoid errors that could lead to, well, there's an interesting word, isn't it? Imperfect justice, putting it mildly. Being under-resourced also means that the tools of forensic science and the knowledge base that underpins the analysis and interpretation of evidence are not as strong as they could be, thus hindering the ability of the forensic science disciplines to excel at informing investigations, providing strong evidence, and avoiding errors in important ways. NIJ is the only federal agency that provides direct support to crime laboratories to alleviate the backlog, and those funds are minimal. The forensic science system is underscored also in the sense that it has only thin ties to an academic research base that could support the forensic science disciplines and fill knowledge gaps. There are many hard-working and conscientious people in the forensic science community, but this under-resourcing inherently limits their ability to do their best work. Additional resources surely will be necessary to create high-quality, self-correcting systems. However, increasing the staff within the existing crime laboratories and medical examiners' offices is only part of the solution. What also is needed is an upgrading of systems and organizational structures, better training, the widespread adoption of uniform and enforceable best practices, and mandatory certification and accreditation programs. The forensic science community and the medical examiner coroner system must be upgraded if forensic practitioners are to be expected to serve the goals of justice. On the various facets of under-resourcing, the committee is most concerned about the knowledge base. Adding more dollars and people to the enterprise might reduce case backlogs, but it will not address fundamental limitations in the capabilities of forensic science disciplines to discern valid information from crime scene evidence. For the most part, it is impossible to discern the magnitude of those limitations, and reasonable people will differ on their significance. But I just can't help but go back to watching Making a Murder, and this bizarre situation whereby the state are trying to convince everybody that Steve had a big bonfire, and they had to make the bonfire bigger. They had to gradually grow it by various people testifying about it was 3 foot, 4 foot. Then it was to the height of the garage. Even then, we could see straight away. There's no way you're going to produce remains of that sort of extent with just a simple bonfire. And watching Making a Murderer, I'm wondering, when are we going to have a proper fire expert come on and say, excuse me, guys, this is bogus. There was nobody cremated in that bonfire. Stephen and Brendan did not see any body parts in the bonfire. They were not there. Anyway, so digressing. Forensic science research is not well supported, and there is no unified strategy for developing a forensic science research plan across federal agencies. Relative to other areas of science, the forensic disciplines have extremely limited opportunities for research funding. Although the FBI and NIJ have supported some research in forensic science, the level of support has been well short of what is necessary for the forensic science community to establish strong links with a broad base of research universities. Moreover, funding for academic research is limited and requires law enforcement collaboration, which can inhibit the pursuit of more fundamental scientific questions essential to establishing the foundation of forensic science. The broader research community generally is not engaged in conducting research relevant to advancing the forensic science disciplines. The forensic science enterprise also is hindered by its extreme disaggregation, marked by multiple types of practitioners with different levels of education and training and different professional cultures and standards for performance, and a reliance on apprentice-type training and a guild-like structure of disciplines which work against the goal of a single forensic science profession. Many forensic scientists are given scant opportunity for professional activities, such as attending conferences or publishing their research, which could help strengthen the professional community and offset some of the disaggregation. The fragmented nature of the enterprise raises the worrisome prospect that the quality of evidence presented in court and its interpretation can vary unpredictably according to jurisdiction. Numerous professional associations are organized around the forensic science disciplines, and many of them are involved in training and education and are developing standards and accreditation and certification programs. The efforts of these groups are laudable. However, except for the largest organizations, it is not clear how these associations interact or the extent to which they share requirements, standards, or policies. Thus, there is a need for more consistent and harmonized requirements. In the course of its deliberations and review of the forensic science enterprise, it became obvious to the committee that although congressional action will not remedy all of the deficiencies in forensic science methods and practices, truly meaningful advances will not come without significant concomitant leadership from the federal government. The forensic science enterprise lacks the necessary governance structure to pull itself up from its current weaknesses. Of the many professional societies that serve the enterprise, none is dominant and none has clearly articulated the need for change or presented a vision for accomplishing it. And clearly no municipal or state forensic office has the mandate to lead the entire enterprise. The major federal resources, NIJ and the FBI laboratory, have provided modest leadership, for which they should be commended. NIJ has contributed a helpful research program, and the FBI laboratory has spearheaded the SWGs. But again, neither entity has recognized, let alone articulated, a need for change or a vision for achieving it. Neither has the full confidence of the larger forensic science community. And because both are part of a prosecutorial department of government, they should be subject to subtle contextual biases that should not be allowed to undercut the power of forensic science. The forensic science enterprise needs strong governance to adopt and promote an aggressive long-term agenda to help strengthen the forensic science disciplines. Governance must be strong enough and independent enough to identify the limitations of forensic science methodologies and must be well connected to the nation's scientific research base to effect meaningful advances in forensic science practices. The governance structure must be able to create appropriate incentives for jurisdictions to adopt and to adhere to best practices and promulgate the necessary sanctions to discourage bad practices. Here. It must have influence with educators in order to effect improvements to forensic science education. It must be able to identify standards and enforce them. A government entity must be geared towards toward and be credible within the law enforcement community, but it must have strengths that extend beyond that area. Oversight of the forensic science community and medical examiner system will sweep broadly into areas of criminal investigation and prosecution, civil litigation, legal reform, investigation of insurance claims, national disaster planning and preparedness, homeland security, certification of federal, state and local forensic practitioners, public health, accreditation of public and private laboratories, research to improve forensic methodologies, education programs in colleges and universities, and advancing technologies. Wow. The committee considered whether such a governing entity should be established within an existing federal agency. The National Science Foundation, NSF, was considered because of its strengths in leading research and its connections to the research and education communities. NSF is surely capable of building and sustaining a research base, but it has very thin ties to the forensic science community. It would be necessary for NSF to take many untested steps if it were to assume responsibility for the governance of applied fields of science. The committee also considered NIST. In the end, analysis, however, NIST did not appear to be a viable option. It has a good program of research targeted at forensic science and law enforcement, but the program is modest. NIST also has strong ties to industry and academia, and it has an eminent history in standard setting and method development. Sounds good. But its ties to the forensic science community are still limited, and it would not be seen as a natural leader by the scholars, scientists, and practitioners in the field. In sum, the committee concluded that neither NSF or NIST has the breadth of experience or institutional capacity to establish an effective governance structure for the forensic science enterprise. There is also a strong consensus in the committee that no existing or new division or unit within DOJ would be an appropriate location for a new entity governing the forensic science community. No. From our point of view, that would be the fox guarding the henhouse, wouldn't it? DOJ's principal mission is to enforce the law and defend the interests of the United States, according to the law. Agencies within DOJ operate pursuant to this mission. The FBI, for example, is the investigative arm of DOJ, and its principal missions are to produce and use intelligence to protect the nation from threats and to bring to justice those who violate the law. The work of these law enforcement units is critically important to the nation, but the scope of the work done by DOJ units is much narrower than the promise of a strong forensic science community. Forensic science serves more than just law enforcement, and when it does serve law enforcement, it must be equally available to law enforcement officers, prosecutors, thank goodness, and defendants in the criminal legal system. The entity that is established to govern the forensic science community cannot be principally beholden to law enforcement, obviously. The potential for conflicts of interest between the needs of law enforcement and the broader needs of forensic science are too great. In addition, the committee determined that the research funding strategies of DOJ have not adequately served the broad needs of the forensic science community. This is understandable but not acceptable when the issue is whether an agency is best suited to support and oversee the nation's forensic science community. In sum, the committee concluded that advancing science in the forensic science enterprise is not likely to be achieved within the confines of DOJ. Furthermore, there is little doubt that some existing federal entities are too wedded to the current fragmented forensic science community, which is deficient in too many respects. Most notably, these existing agencies have failed to pursue a rigorous research agenda to confirm the evidentiary reliability of methodologies used in a number of forensic science disciplines. These agencies are not good candidates to oversee the overhaul of the forensic science community in the United States. Finally, some existing federal agencies with other missions occasionally have undertaken projects affecting the forensic science community. These entities are better left to continue the good work that defines their principal missions. More responsibility is not better for these existing entities, nor would it be better for the forensic science community or the nation. The committee thus concluded that the problems and issues are too serious and important to be subsumed by an existing federal agency. It also concluded that no existing federal agency has the capacity or appropriate mission to take on the roles and responsibilities needed to govern and improve the forensic science enterprise. The committee believes that what is needed to support and oversee the forensic science community is a new, strong, and independent entity that could take on the tasks that would be assigned to it in a manner that is as objective and free of bias as possible, one with no ties to the past, and with the authority and resources to implement a fresh agenda designed to address the problems found by the committee and discussed in the report. A new organization should not be encumbered by the assumptions, expectations, and deficiencies of the existing fragmented infrastructure, which has failed to address the needs and challenges of the forensic science disciplines. This new entity must be an independent federal agency established to address the needs of the forensic science community, and it must meet the following minimum criteria. It must have a culture that is strongly rooted in science, with strong ties to the national research and teaching communities, including federal laboratories. It must have strong ties to state and local forensic entities, as well as to the professional organizations within the forensic science community. It must not be in any way committed to the existing system, but should be informed by its experiences. It must not be part of a law enforcement agency. It must have the funding, independence, and sufficient prominence to raise the profile of the forensic science disciplines and push effectively for improvements. It must be led by persons who are skilled and experienced in developing and executing national strategies and plans for standard setting, managing accreditation and testing processes, and developing and implementing rulemaking, oversight, and sanctioning processes. No federal agency currently exists that meets all of these criteria. But recommendation 1, I think we'll leave it there at recommendation number 1. That would be a good point to start the next part on. So let's come back to that. In fact, let's just close that altogether. There we go. I had a Sport and Truth and Facts got in touch with me via Twitter, and that's where I got the line. Well, it's a well-known line, isn't it? The fox guard in the hen house. And they pointed out to me, I'm going to share them with you as well, some efforts by Wisconsin to set up their version of a conviction integrity unit under some other name, and very much a case of the fox guarding the hen house. And that's really what that article is saying about forensic science. You know, you leave it up to the FBI, you know, and you get the Dwayne Devers and the Michael Wests of this world who would completely make a mess. The Mark LeBeaus of this world, and dare I say it, the Nick Stalkes of this world, that are just appalling. You know, that makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know, whether they're really satisfied with their job. You know, that they're just rubber stamping what prosecutors want them to say. Anyway, let's look forward to seeing what Sharon Sunshine is able to tell us about Luke Mitchell, Jodie Jones. I'll certainly be watching that tomorrow night at 9 and Thursday at 9. I'm hoping to have a chat with Sandra Lane, of course, who has been one of the author of the book Innocence Betrayed, and has been the sort of most vocal supporter of Luke Mitchell, and I'm sure is featured heavily in the documentary. So let's see what happens there. I think 24 hours after Jerome gets to chat with Sandy, I'm having a chat with Sandy as well. So look forward to that. Also hoping in the not too distant future to get hold of Tracy Keogh again. And now that I've finished both Michael Cicchini books, Cicchini books, let's get it right, Cicchini, I'm looking forward to hopefully having a chat with him. So plenty to look forward to. And of course, as usual, Pete on a Saturday, he's really enjoying coming on and having a chat. And I think in particularly, he likes to look and see what people have said in the chat on the side, So look forward to having a chat with Pete on Saturday as per usual. Tomorrow night, actually, before the Channel 5 documentary, I'm having a chat with a couple of really good musicians here in Scotland. But that'll be purely a chat about music. I don't know if they've ever watched Netflix's Making a Murderer, but after I've spoken to them backstage, I'm sure they will. So anyway, listen, we'll catch you all soon. Thank you all for popping by, and as I say, please do check out the link to Liquid Sunshine Crime / Sharon Sunshine. Subscribe to her channel, and let's see what's going to happen with this Luke Mitchell, Jodie Jones case. It is quite interesting to see that it's not just in America that you can have these trials by media. That's certainly the case 20 years ago. So yeah, thanks Sean, thank you Alice, Darkside, Millbilly, Jazz. Oh, T1's here. Hi T1. Oh, Drone's here as well. Good. So I was just reading T1's comment. If Netflix settles with Coleman, I think a line of others that feel wronged in MAM is going to form. Well, yes, that would seem unlikely, but I don't think they're going to get much joy out of Netflix. Anyway, we'll wait and see. Don't post much anyway. Not sure about that, Millbilly. You know about you? Post plenty and all good stuff. Oh, on Discord, right? I get it. Sorry, yeah. Anyone seen a blue spanner lying around in here? I've got pliers if they might be helpful. A spanner? No, they're out in the tool shed. Sorry. Sean, Millbilly, Sean, Darkside, Millbilly, Jazz. Yeah, I think we've got everybody there. Okay, excellent. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you all again soon. We'll mix up a bit of this forensic testing, strengthening forensic science, looking at Dr. Leo's testimony in Brendan's appeal, and also I want to look at this stuff that Seeking Truth for Good sent me information. Okay, catch you all soon. Bye for now.